Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another podcast episode. My name is Alicia Gogan, the host of the Glow Up Secrets podcast, where I help you expand your mind and become more self-aware so that you can glow up into the best version of yourself. Hello, how are we doing? Happy whatever day you're listening. Hopefully you're listening to this on the Thursday because you're an OG and you love me so much. But I hope everyone is doing well. I am a little bit under the weather. I'm not feeling the absolute best. So if I'm giving a little bit daisy, a little bit hazy, a little bit sounding weird, that is why, but I'm going to do my absolute best and trek through this. So we need to talk about the realities of being a content creator. You guys had asked me so many good questions when it comes to becoming a content creator. A lot of you guys clearly want to be content creators, or you just want to know the ins and the outs and how to be the best version of yourself on camera, money talk, the process of being a content creator, all that good stuff. So I compiled a lot of questions, which I asked you guys on the podcast Instagram, which go follow on there if you want motivation, quotes, you want updates of the podcast, the Glow Up Secrets podcast Instagram. That is where I also do all the Q&As. So I compiled a very long, lengthy list of questions that you guys had asked me. So I am going to do my absolute best to get through all of them. You guys asked very important, good questions, and we will see. So I don't want to ramble on about anything. And if you want to hear me ramble about random updates in life and just fun things, then just listen to Monday's episode, which is the off-topic episode that we do now, which is just more rambly and fun. Although I ramble all the time, you guys know that. Okay, so I kind of sectioned the questions that you guys had asked me out into three main parts. So kind of like about yourself as a content creator, and then like the process of being a content creator, like, you know, coming up with ideas and planning and editing, that kind of stuff. And then also like, what did I write? Like brands and money, things like that. So we're going to do the best. One thing I want to quickly say actually though is right now today I'm actually recording a day in the life of being a content creator, so podcasting, being a YouTuber, all that kind of stuff. So that video should be coming out within the next week or so. So definitely stay tuned and make sure that you're subscribed to my main channel, which is just my name, Alicia Gogan. That way you can see a day in the life, because somebody had asked me, what does the day in life look like as a content creator? And I literally show you guys that, like everything. So, and one last thing, I just got my podcast chair that I've been waiting for the office to start like making it a whole studio. I haven't opened it yet, so I'm hoping that the blue is going to be the blue that I wanted, but exciting things happening for the podcast. Okay, so let's get into the first question. How did you become good at talking in front of a camera? Practice, my love, practice. And I think this is why the tip of sometimes, let's say we talk about TikTok, because that's where I first started on TikTok. When people say, oh, post like 3 times a day, there's many reasons why people will say that, which it can be helpful, it cannot. You don't have to post 3 times a day. But I think that's what I did because I thought that was how I was going to grow. And I did for sure. Like obviously, the quantity of videos allowed me to really gain traction. But outside of that, I think posting so much allowed me to get really, really good at being on camera and getting to the point with things. Although y'all know I don't really be getting to the point, and I actually like long form so that I don't have to quickly get to the point. But that allowed me to be more confident on camera by just every single day. I knew that I had to not every day I posted or got up and recorded, but multiple times a week, I was always filming and refilming, editing, and I was doing that consistently. So I got really good at being able to go on camera. I got very much so out of my way when I just told myself like every single week I was going to be batch filming and I was going to be creating content. And yes, I was going to give my tips to you guys. No matter how many times I messed up, I was going to continue to do it until I got it right. Like, it is simply practice. You're not going to be absolutely perfect. If you go back to my videos, which I hope that you don't, but if you do, you will see I sound very different. So I think that if you want to be comfortable on camera, you are just going to have to understand that practice is going to make perfect. And also just embracing the fact that you're in this beginner phase, because I think a lot of reasons why people don't want to even practice, right, is because they're like, oh my God, well, I'm not as good as this person, or I don't sound the same way as that person. But it's like, that is a normal process. Everyone goes through it that has ever been a content creator. Even if you think they have not, they have. So just just know it's like a part of the job. And I knew that when I was starting on TikTok, podcasting, YouTube, I knew whatever piece of content that I was making, it wasn't going to be my absolute best. I just knew that was a part of the job and that I was going to get better. So just take that as like, this is what you have to do if you want to be a content creator and move on. You're going to get better. Someone asked how to remain authentic. I think you just genuinely have to talk about the things that you like to talk about, the things that you know about. Speak from experience, speak from the things that you have learned. Don't try and be somebody that you are not. And I get when you first start, there is a level of you almost following someone else's blueprint and getting inspired and motivated by somebody else, obviously. And there's no real original thought, obviously, right? But I think you can check in with yourself at some times and ask yourself, like, am I really trying to just be a carbon copy of somebody else? Or am I being somewhat authentically me, which is, am I speaking from experience? Did I go through this? And even when it comes to like advice or tips, I give advice or tips based off of what I've actually done, not what the textbook says that you need to do 3 steps to love yourself. What 3 steps did I do to love myself? Okay. What 3 steps did I do to get out of bed and to go to the gym? There's a million things online that you can look up and you can get information from, or what other people are doing, 3 steps to what they're doing. But what are you specifically doing? That is what is always going to keep you authentic. And that is what we need. We don't need another carbon copy. So always just asking yourself, like, have I been through what it is that I'm saying, or what have I been through that I can help other people with? And don't be afraid, and don't think that what you've been through, or whatever it is that you have that's unique to you, wouldn't be worthy, or people wouldn't want to hear about. And that's the thing that gets us in our own way, right? We're like, oh my God, nobody wants to hear what I have to say. Or let's say like you're in like fashion, or you want to do like fashion videos or day in a life videos. You think, oh, well, nobody will care about my life or my fashion. Well, listen, if that's what the belief that you have, then yes, nobody's going to care. You have to look at yourself like you are worthy of being cared of, or interested in. That was the wrong word, but whatever. You really have to look at yourself like you got something to say, baby. And I've said this so many times, even on my YouTube channel. One of the most important things that I ever did before I even got big was I backed myself. I knew when I got on podcasts, this is not to say that I didn't have, this is not to say that I had like unshakable confidence and I knew exactly what I was saying all the time and I was so good on camera. No, I went through that cringy stage, which is totally fine, but I knew in my heart, I have a gift. I have things to talk about. I've gone through things and I can help people. I know my talent and I know my value and I know my worth, and I don't care. I'm going to back that. And you have to have unshakable confidence. You have to have that within you, because it is going to eventually reflect. And if you don't, then you're going to just get in your own way, right? Like when views are low, or when you feel like no one's listening, or, you're comparing yourself to other people. If you don't back yourself genuinely, then yeah, you're going to get in your own way. And then that's when you're going to stop creating content, and you need to be consistent if you want to grow. You have to be. You need to be consistent, and you need to believe in yourself. Somebody asked how to get over people close to you watching everything you do. And then somebody also asked, like, how do you deal with critical friends and family? I don't. What other people from my hometown, from people that I maybe know me but don't really know me, what do they have to do? What does their opinion have to do with my life and my future? This is, at the end of the day, being a content creator, this is my job, right? So my job translates into how I'm living, the quality of life, the money that I have, the experiences that I get to experience in my life, which also translate into the relationships that I'm able to form with people, friendships, romantic, everything, right? So how am I going to let other people's opinions or, how they're perceiving me affect my actual future and everything about my life? That makes zero sense. And I understand why, of course. I get it. I totally get it. But for me, I have definitely been on the more I don't give a fuck side of things. And this is not to mean that I've always had unshakable confidence and I'm the best and whatever. I did not. I definitely did not. But I got to a point where it's just like, it's either me or you. It's either me or you, baby. And this is the thing. I was, for a really long time, living in survival mode. I had no other option but to choose myself in many, many circumstances when it came to when my dad passed away, when my mom was going through addictions, college, finances, all that kind of stuff. I really had to choose myself selfishly, and that's fine. because nobody else was doing it. No one else was paying my bills. No one else was waking me up and getting me to go to the gym and taking care of myself and eating right and cooking. None of it. Nobody was taking care of me but me. And I think that really actually translated a lot to being able to go for what I wanted, because I was kind of this independent person to begin with. And so I look at it as like the same way as I did with taking care of myself. Like, it's either me or you, and you're not going to do it, so I need to do it. And I just think in general, like, you have to remind yourself always listen, if people are criticizing you or bringing you down, it's because they are not in the situation that you are trying to get into. I've said this so many times to people. Think about this. The person you look up to, the successful content creator, influencer, entrepreneur, business owner, whatever, I have never once heard any of these people say you can't have what they have or speak negativity into anyone who might be interested in what they're doing. Okay, maybe they might not be like the nicest, who knows, like influencers, maybe some people are not nice and whatever, and like, whatever. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I don't hear that from people who are successful. The only time I ever hear criticism, the only time I ever hear people being like, oh, I don't know if you can do that, are always the people who've never done it. Point freaking blank. That's just what I have to say about that. So listen, it's either you or them. And I would really highly suggest you choose yourself. Someone asked how to feel genuine and mentally healthy when you're filming / documenting everything. This is a good question. I think it all depends on who you are and how, like, the content creator that you want to be and what you want to share online. You can share or not share as much as you want, honestly. Like, I know that I can share way more on social media if I wanted to, and I just choose not to. And another thing that I do also is when I'm going through something personally, like mental health wise, I actually don't like to talk about it as I'm going through it. I like to talk about it after I've gone through it, because I have this very introverted process of dealing with my own situation that's going on within my mental health, right? Like my own self. I know a lot of people who literally like vlog themselves going through something emotionally. Now, I think there's been maybe a few vlogs that I've made when it's more like a mental health reset, maybe getting out of a rut, but usually it's never like I just cried and then I'm getting on camera. And usually at those times, it wasn't like the hardest thing in the whole world. But when I'm going through like a deep death and rebirth, I am not filming. I'm just not filming. That's what, like, I just don't feel like I need to. It just doesn't help me, and I don't feel like I need to film in the moment in order to have good content. My greatest content will come from after I've gone through that little death and that rebirth, and I've created and pulled some wisdom, honestly, out of that time, and then I speak about it. So I think when it comes to this question, like, you don't have to share everything online if you don't want to. You could be super, super private. I know so many people who are so private. I know so people who show and share a little bit too much, in my personal opinion, but that's just my opinion. But people, all types of creators out there, like, this is the greatest thing about this world right now is you can really be anyone who you want online if you back yourself and you just know that you are great. Honestly, people will flock to you. Do you understand how many people there are in the world who are on social media who are looking for people just specifically like you? You will never even understand until you actually go for it and you see the reflection of you in other people. It's insane. So I just think, you really have to practice. You have to see what you like. Do you like posting about your meals and your workouts and your relationship and your innermost, deepest thoughts and, what you did on the weekend? Like, you have to just check in with yourself and say, does this feel comfortable for me? Do I like this? Do I like sharing about this? And if I don't want to talk about this, then don't, you're allowed to have autonomy over yourself. Just don't ever forget that. Like, and there's people who, will message me and be like, might ask like too deep of questions or whatever. And it's just, no, I'm just not going to share that. And that's totally fine. There's going to be other people who will share more. Someone said, how do you stay authentic to yourself and your intuition in a world where everyone has criticism? I think I've already kind of answered this. Like, honestly, you answered this. Understand that everyone's going to be critical of something because everyone has their own beliefs and ways of viewing the world. So you're not going to fit into their mold. It doesn't mean you're wrong. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. So just know that. I just know that I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I know that I'm not going to be every man's cup of tea. I know that I'm not going to be every female friendship type of thing, cup of tea. I'm just not, and that's fine. I don't need to. I absolutely am totally fine with not being that. And I think you should too. It will really free you. Someone asked, what if you're not really an engaging person? And then in brackets, they said, just very selective, but want to start creating content. I think this kind of goes back to just reminding yourself that you don't have to be this one version of who you think you need to be online, right? Again, there's millions of creators who are very subtle. They don't show a lot. They don't say a lot. There's coaches who specifically only speak about one specific topic. Like let's say feminine energy. Like there's just people online who only talk about feminine energy and dating, and like their podcast is that and their YouTube is that, and they don't really show a lot of their lives, like, and they do amazing. And that's great for them. And there's other influencers who, let's say the New York girlies, the day in the life, the week in the life, they're kind of showing everything, what they're eating, who their friends are, their makeup, everything. It's just whatever you want to show. So again, don't try and box yourself into really anything, right? What do you like to speak about? What do you want to share with the world? What do you back yourself in? And do that. And another thing is like, you give yourself the opportunity to grow as well. I think when I first started on TikTok and YouTube, I knew that I had a specific value when it came to certain topics. Like I was talking about feminine energy and soft life and healing, inner child healing, anything to do with like dating advice. What else did I talk about? I was talking about shadow work, how to be happy single, how to love yourself, glowing up, all the things that I've ever been through, right? And so, but I was still very like in this kind of box, and I just spoke on those things because I knew that that's what I could speak on. And then when I got comfortable and I wanted to branch out, I did, and I allowed myself to. And I think that that's something that people get stuck with because they kind of drive themselves into one little niche. And like this, you're a human being. You can't just be put in a box. And listen, you could, if you want, let's say bring it back to the feminine energy people who like, let's say only talk about dating and feminine energy. If you only want to show up on social media and you are fine with only talking about that and you love what you talk about and that is it, or let's say like manifestation and spirituality, like those are the two things that you just like to talk about and that's that, and then you go on with your life, you don't want to share about anything else, amazing. But also that person, regardless if they want to share online or not, that person also has other things that they do in their lives. And so they're not just this one little person, there's box. So you do have the opportunity, if you want, to share other things. But I think that the most important thing you can do as a content creator is to think about the value that you can bring to other people. People always want to be the influencer who's like the lifestyle, and like I just want to show my everyday lifestyle and like what I eat and like workouts and stuff, and like cool, yes, you can show that. But I think especially in this day and age, it's important to think about what value can I bring to my audience? What is the thing that they're going to come to me for specifically? I'm going to give them all of that. And then I'm going to also show, because they want to know more about me, my daily life, or, you know, what I'm getting up to on the weekends or whatever. And this is not to say that you can't just like be a lifestyle creator and show your life, but I just think that, you know, when it comes to like being a lifestyle content creator, like let's say the New York girlies or whatever, there's definitely a niche in terms of you kind of have to have a life where it's not that this sounds so bad to say, like worth showing, but realistically, if you don't live a very, not extravagant, but like hustle and bustle and all these things, all these cool things going on in your life, then you're not really going to be able to vlog anything, right? Because there's nothing really to show. So just think about, you know, what can you show online? What can you give to the audience? Whether that be, let's say you're that advice person, or let's say, yes, you have this real cool suburban lifestyle, or this real cool like New York City lifestyle. Okay, that is something that you can show to your audience because they want to see, they want to live through you. Whatever it is, think about what you could show and bring that to your audience. And then, you know, all the little mundane random things that can be just like a part of the job in a way. Okay, next question. Do you receive hate comments and how do you react to them? Yes, I do receive hate comments and just people giving the 2 cents when it's just very irrelevant, and I don't react to them. Like very, very rarely. I mean, maybe sometimes if people try and act as if they're trying to give like constructive feedback, but then it's like really not, then like maybe I'll say something. But I don't have time really to argue with you. Not to say that I've never like responded to somebody who think that they're gonna tell me how to be. But at the end of the day, in terms of reacting, I usually will just delete it if it's like very vulgar or just very out of pocket, because I just don't want that on my stuff, or I just leave it and I just let people get out their emotions. Because at the end of the day, bringing it back, people have certain ways in which they view life and certain ways in which they think that you should be speaking and talking and showing and whatever, and that is irrelevant information to me. I'm so sorry. This is not to mean that I don't care about other people's opinion when it comes to like, I don't want to hurt you, obviously, or, like I want to make sure that you're getting the best content from me, things like that. But hate comments are hate comments. They're not anything actually helpful. So yeah, just I don't react to them. And just know, if you're going to be a content creator, you're going to get it. And I don't get a lot, but you're just going to get it. And that's just the reality. And it's actually very irrelevant. Someone asked, how did you realize content creation is something you want to do? For me personally, I knew that I wanted to have a podcast and potentially YouTube, but for me, it was definitely actually a podcast. And I just used TikTok as a way to start, because it was like an upcoming thing and I got used to that. And then I was able to like build an audience, although that audience did not translate to YouTube or podcast. I started from scratch, but I just knew that I wanted to start with something that I could actually do, which was TikTok at the time. And long form, I just like couldn't really do too much of it because I was working other jobs and I just wanted to get practice. But I just knew that I wanted a platform where I could speak, because that's what I do. I do this in my real life. I speak all the time to my friends. My friends like to listen to my TED Talks. I send voice notes. I'm just like always thinking out loud. This is another thing. I think out loud all the time. I talk to myself all the time. I journal all the time. And I believe that I have really good insights. I believe what I say, I'm like, damn girl, you really got that. You hit the freaking nail on the head. Okay. And so I was like, you know what? Let me just start my own stage, because you know what? This is the thing. Not everyone's going to listen to you. Not everyone's going to want to listen to you. Some of my friends, when they want my advice, they kind of probably regret it, because then I go on a rant. And listen, I make sure to kind of pull back and stuff, and I don't like talk people's ears off or whatever. But I was like, you know what? Then what I'm going to do is create my own job in which this becomes my reality. Like, if this is the thing that I love to do the absolute most, which is talk about healing, self-love, mental health, glowing up. I've gone through so much in my life, whatever it is. Why not just put that out to the masses and see who wants to listen? Because there's going to be people who want to listen. Not everyone in my immediate life is going to want to listen, and I don't care, because not everyone needs to listen. But why not just do that? And yeah, so that's why I started, because I like to talk. Someone said, would someone who finds social media draining be able to sustain as a YouTuber? It depends, because in terms of like, if you are thinking like you have to always be scrolling on social media in order to be a content creator, I think that you don't. I don't. Like, if I'm on TikTok, I'm watching like funny things that have nothing to do with like my career. Although I did at the beginning, of course. And like YouTube, I just watch whatever I like, and not anything to do with like, oh, I need this to influence any of my videos. Same with podcasting. So yeah, you don't need to like technically be like a scroller. But the thing that I'll say is, if you don't watch YouTubes, or if you don't listen to podcasters, or if you're not on TikTok and you don't use the app, or you don't use Instagram, and you think it's like dumb, then yeah, it is going to be hard for you to sustain, because you're not going to understand the app, and you're not going to understand the types of language and conversations that are being had on these certain platforms. And you're not going to be able to speak to your audience in that way, because you've never been the audience. I have always been a YouTuber. Like, I've always consumed YouTube. So I knew the old version of me. I knew exactly what she was looking for. I knew exactly what she liked to watch. I knew the aesthetic she liked. I just knew everything about her and what she wanted from her other like influencers that she used to watch. And then so becoming a content creator now is easy, because it's like, I know what you want. Obviously things have changed, right? But it's like, and that's another thing, I guess, pro tip is speak to the young version of you. It'll be a lot easier. But yeah, so if you absolutely hate it, yeah, it might be hard. But you don't have to necessarily like spend, you don't have to consume a lot of stuff. You really don't. And maybe at the beginning you will, to kind of learn like what's good and what's trending and this, that. But at the end of the day, my hope, honestly, for you as a content creator is for you to not need anything, no influence around you, and you create because it's you. You create because all this talent, this skill, whatever you have to bring to the world is coming from you, not picking up from everyone else and then spitting it back out. And now I know it's impossible to really fully be 100% you, because you're made up of everyone else around you and influences, of course, but I've gotten to a point where I trust that I can just create from what I think I want to speak about and what I see going on in the society and the consciousness at hand, not in terms of what the algorithm is telling me that I need to push. And also my community. That's another thing, is like when you start to build a community, you really don't need to look at what everyone else is. You just listen to your community and you'll have endless amounts of content. Someone asked, do you feel anxious about thinking about the next video / worry about views? So I guess that kind of piggybacks off of what I just said. I think the more that you trust your own intuition and you continue to practice, you will have less anxious thoughts about the next video and like, what should I talk about? Because you will be building an audience, and then somebody will ask you a question, and then that person is connected to the collective consciousness, and then everyone will want to listen. Like, it always happens like that. So I think, just to say like, oh, I've never worried is obviously a lie, but now I don't. I absolutely don't. I'm not stressed about that. And in terms of views, I don't stress about that either, because and we're going to have a whole episode about the scarcity mindset. I definitely have podcast episodes about this, but anytime that I'm worrying about money or not trusting if things are going to come in, or views or anything like that, it's all just from scarcity. It's all from not backing myself. It's all from a place of feeling like there's limited resources, and this is just not the reality that I want to live in, and nor do I actually believe that is how the universe works. And so I just like don't really buy into I can catch myself, like I just know if I'm worrying about that kind of stuff, it's just like the old version of me that's just in scarcity. And I just remind myself like, no, this is not, there's endless amounts of money, opportunities, people to watch my stuff. Even if there's lows in content or whatever, I can always pick myself back up. I am the most valuable piece of content that I could ever be. So I just need to focus on myself and my mental health and my health, and I will always be able to create whatever I want. And somebody had asked me one time, like, and people say this all the time, right? Like, well, what if social media goes away? Or like, are you worried about like when you left a job, like whatever? And it's like, I don't really worry about these things, because I know no matter what, if everything gets taken away tomorrow, I know that I have the skills and the ability to be able to create a life for myself outside of, let's say, social media. If I need to go and get a job, I can go get a job. I am competent enough. I have schooling behind me. I can network. I know how to speak to people. I have like a network and connections in my own like actual life. I'm fine. I can figure it out. And I think this goes back to me being that independent person at such a young age. I had to. There was no other option but to go up. So in my mind, like, I'm not really afraid of those things, because it's like, okay, well, I'll figure it out. Like, I'll figure it out. And I'm not going to stay at a job that I hate and that's not paying me, because I'm too afraid that if I go for social media, that like, it could be taken away, or like it doesn't work out. Okay, if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. Then I'll go back and get another job, like I'll go and figure something out. I'll move with the ebbs and flows of life. And I think that for me, like, I know that I'm very adaptable, and I listen and I do research, and I'm willing to move around. And if you're willing to do that, and you're willing to, change and evolve, you're good. You're good. Someone said, best advice for engaging with your audience authentically. I honestly think the more that you just be yourself, and I know it can be hard at the beginning, but the more that you be yourself and you talk about what it is that you want to talk about, and what you can talk about, and what you've gone through, or what you're good at, and you continue to do that, and you continue to practice, and you continue to listen to your audience, that is all they need. They don't need this picture perfect person that's not you. And I get it, but yeah, you just need to be yourself. And it's crazy, because being a content creator, it ends up being such a deeper thing. And I talk about this a lot to people who I work one-on-one with. By the way, I do one-on-one coaching with content creators as well. So if you're interested, just go to the link down below and you can book with me, and just like, it can be content creation. It doesn't have to be like life coaching. But every person that I work with, it's like, it becomes this deeper thing of you breaking free the mask that you put on in your life, and you have to learn how to like be more confident with yourself and actually love yourself and just back yourself when you want to actually be a content creator. It's just so much deeper. All right, I had to take a break because my mind is a little bit foggy. That is one thing I will say about recording long form content, is it really takes so much more energy out of you than you even think, especially when you speak for a long time. And anyone who speaks for a long time would probably agree with me. Anyways, let's talk about the process of like content creating. I kind of like put all of them together. Let's see how much we can get through. So somebody said, what does the ideation process look like for you? So I'm assuming where I get my ideas from or how I come up with them, and all the way to like this video, I guess. Well, it depends on the platform that I'm talking about. So let's say, like, honestly, for both platforms are kind of the same. And it was different than how I used to do it. So let's actually bring it back to how I used to do it. So again, when I realized I had something that I really wanted to share with the world, which was, honestly, I realized that I was going through a lot of self-sabotaging behaviors, and I stopped dieting cycles, and I healed myself, from physical, chronic pain through like mental health practices and healing and inner child work, all that kind of stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to bring this to the world. And I see everyone else struggling, and my friends and everyone always struggles with being in self-sabotage and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, no, like, this is how I got out of it. I'm not saying this is my, like, I know the way. There's a million ways in which you can heal and stuff like that. But I was like, oh my God, these are the things that I think that can really help other people because it's helped me. And so I wanted to share that. And so I focused on only sharing that kind of stuff. So I had like this focus, right, of this thing that I've gone through and I wanted to share with the world. And now for you, maybe it's not necessarily like, oh, healing practices and mental health and but maybe it's like how you actually found confidence within yourself with relationships, or maybe you're really good at, people really love your fashion sense, or people really love your lifestyle or your healthy eating or living. And that's just like who you are to a core. Okay, well then maybe that's something that you could, if you want, show to the world. I feel like people are always wondering, like, what do I share to the world? Well, it's like, what are you good at? What do you like to talk about? And, I'm good at a lot of things. And there's things that I know that I don't really care to share too much about, like what I'm eating every day, although I do show my stories, but that's kind of like an extra thing. But, what do I really want to help people with, and I am really passionate about? That's very important. And so I thought about some of the pillars of topics that I can kind of talk about and cycle through each week on TikTok to be able to continue to grow an audience. And so I would talk about inner child healing and parts work and how to do it, how to love yourself, how to stop obsessing over somebody and obsess over yourself and why that's important. Whatever information that I knew, I sat down every single week and I wrote out all these video ideas and little tips that I could give other people, and I recorded it and I put it online. And some videos that did better than others, I would focus in on those videos and I would say, oh, okay, people like to really hear more about the soft life. And, then I share my experience about why I was interested in the soft life, or why I was interested in feminine energy and things that I did to step more into the feminine energy, or things I did to heal from trauma, things like that. So it was definitely a balance of what I've gone through, but also like what people want to hear more of. And I think that when you talk about the things that you've actually gone through, or things that you're good at or you like to talk about, naturally you won't really necessarily run out of things to say per se, because the people who are going to be listening are going to want follow-up questions about that same thing, and you're going to be able to answer it because it's like you're talking from experience. It's like you've gone through it. It's like all the information about it. Maybe you don't know everything, and that's another thing, imposter syndrome. You're never going to know absolutely everything, nor do you need to, but there's going to be a lot of things and your certain takes that you have on specific topics that you can continue to talk about and share with your audience. Now, for the podcast and YouTube now, I create more from a place of the season of life and the things that I'm interested in and the things that you guys are interested in. But it's not necessarily what I'm going through. So I'll give you an example. Right now, I'm really feeling the vibe of like, let's talk about content creation. Let's talk about finances. Let's talk about, becoming the best version of ourselves, which is very broad. I know my whole entire YouTube and whatever is all about that. But there's just certain things that people are kind of more drawn to depending on the season of life. And so I want to talk about the things that I have done to help me get to that position then. So obviously I'm a content creator. So the things I'm talking about right now, the advice I'm giving you right now, I'm not going through that, but I've gone through that. But like, let's say throughout the summertime, glowing up into the best version of yourself and having more confidence within your body and your beauty and wellness, things like that. Like everyone's really interested in that. I'm interested in that. And, I might be showing on my vlogs or my YouTube, what I'm doing currently when it comes to my healthy habits, but I'm also speaking from a place of, this is how I got out of those old habits that maybe you are currently in, and this is how you can get to where I'm at right now. And these are the steps that I took to be able to get to a life where I am now being able to vlog me getting up and going to the gym and not having any resistance, or me getting up and just taking care of myself from this place of self-love versus self-hate. So it's like, I'm still going through all the phases that you guys are going through, but maybe it's just at a different chapter. Sorry guys, I had to switch my memory card and I kind of forget where I was going with my thoughts. But in terms of the idea process, I just kind of create through different seasons and phases of everyone's lives, because we are literally usually all in some way, shape, or form going through the same thing. And when I mean the same thing is like, you create an audience that is kind of interested in the same things you are. And we're not all the exact same, but I think that most of the time things can speak to a lot of people if you just kind of like talk based off of the season of life and understanding and listening to your audience and seeing what's going on. This is why it is kind of important to be on social media and stuff though, to see kind of like, okay, what are people talking about? And you don't really have to, but like New Year's, like people are wanting to self-improve. So if you're in the niche of self-development and advice, podcasting, long form kind of content, self-improvement, then you're going to want to probably help other people on how they can become the best versions of themselves throughout the new year, or like prepping for summer, but you're going to have your own little take on it, right? Because you're going to be talking from a place of what you did to glow up, or what you did to hit your New Year's goals, or whatever it is, or what you are doing to plan for the best year of your life. So again, everyone's kind of like, there's always going to be the same type of things that are going on in the world, but what is your specific take on it? That's what we want to know, honey. Someone said, can you talk about time management and how you separate between work and life? I think this comes back to, what is it that you want to show on social media and what do you not? And, you definitely need to have boundaries. Like, I just think that there's things that happen in my life that I just don't need to share, and I don't want to. And I know that if I do, then I'm going to get more questions about it. And then the more questions lead into me always being on social media, because I'm always answering, I'm always talking to people, DMs, this, that, and having to share this and updates here. So, asking yourself, like, what am I even comfortable in? Do I even want to share this? Like, you don't have to. And in terms of like consuming content, I just think that I don't need other people and their content in order to help me be a content creator, because the way that I look at it is I should be creating content because it's things that I've gone through and not just what everyone else is telling me and then I'm regurgitating. This is not to mean that I did not watch YouTubers and content creators and I don't watch them now. But and I'm even talking about when I was even younger. Obviously, there's so many things that I've learned and consumed, books, podcasts, content creators who have helped me become who I am now. But at the end of the day, it's like I still needed to go out and live my life and apply these things and, try out these modalities and heal myself and go to therapy, and not just like learn that I have to go to therapy, but go to therapy or whatever it is that I'm talking about. And that is where I speak from. Someone asked, what does a day in a life or a week look for you? Like I said, that vlog is going to come out, so I'm just going to leave it for you guys to go watch that. Someone asked, what is a strategy for someone that is starting their podcast? First of all, just start. Like, I don't know why we need to keep asking the same questions. And I'm literally not trying to be rude. I'm just giving you like big sister, like giving you a little push and a shove. I love you so much. But guys, I'm so sick and tired of the questions about any advice on how to start a YouTube channel or any advice on how to be. Okay, listen, I get it. I love you. But let's stop acting like this is so difficult. It's not. Stop getting in your own way. This is the thing you have to ask yourself. Is this question coming from a place of me not backing myself and me not having confidence? Or is it simply literally because I don't have the information? Majority of the time, it's the first, not the latter. And you know what? I'll say this. If you seriously do not know, it's as simple as going on Google/YouTube to look it up, okay? And again, I'm not trying to be rude, and I know this is sounding off like this is sounding a little bit like condescending. I get it, but like this is what I'll say: you have to start, and you want to be consistent. So commit to whatever you can post consistently every single week. Podcast, it should really just be once a week. If you want to do 2 episodes like I did, like that took me forever, and a lot of people don't even do that. But when it comes to YouTube, I would say like once a week if you can. And when it comes to starting, I even showed this in the vlog. This is what I do for the podcast. I record it on my camera, and I also record the audio on GarageBand. And then I get the clips from a memory card and I add it to my computer, and same thing with the audio version, and I add it to iMovie or Final Cut Pro. I sync the audio and I edit whatever I need to edit out, and then I upload it on Spreaker. Spreaker is what I use to host my podcast, which then distributes it to Spotify and Apple. I save that as an audio and do it on there. And then for the visual, I just add it onto YouTube as a regular YouTube video. But the thing is, just go on YouTube and type in how to edit on iMovie, how to upload a podcast to whatever, how to start a podcast. Like, you might as well go do that, because even if I try and tell you, you're going to need to like see it, right? Like, there's people who literally have channels who tell you how to do it. And that's that. And you come up with things, you sit down and you have a plan of what it is that you want to talk about every single week. And again, I've given you a lot of advice already about, thinking about the thing that you're good at, the thing that you love to talk about, some of the topics that you can talk about, listening to your audience when you start to build that audience. I just think that, and I get it, I totally get it, and I love you guys, but it's like, y'all want to know all of the ways in which to be the most successful before even starting. And this is literally just not how it's going to work. And this is literally what I mean. Like, I couldn't even think about some of the things that I'd be talking about now when I first started if I didn't just start first, because what I talk about now is only a result of me talking about a few topics and then my community asking for more, and then me, living my life more. And oh my gosh, I just came to this new insight, or I went through this death and rebirth and now I have more content to make, stuff like that. So try not to like figure everything out before you start, because you won't, and you don't need to. You just simply need to start. Now, I got like 4 other questions actually regarding like the process of creating, but I actually just feel like I answered all your guys' questions in that one. So I'm just going to kind of skip a bunch of them. Somebody said, what do I use to edit my reels? So for my reels, I edit using CapCut. Definitely go use CapCut. It's the best. And I want to shout out this Instagram, and her Instagram name is Lucky Girl Talk. And she actually, like, I asked her because she posts like all of the big self-development people on YouTube, little clips of them. And she posted on to Reels, and I asked her how she did it, and she told me how to do it. So I screen recorded my YouTube clip, and then I put it in InShot, and then I clicked the proportions that I wanted, which was more landscape YouTube. But again, if you don't know how to use any sort of editing app, go onto YouTube and type it in, and there will be somebody who teaches you how to do it. That is how I've learned everything. How do you think that I learned how to do the syncing and the whatever? Ask away until you get it. And I know you're asking me, and I get that, but also when it comes to like editing stuff, it's just like I have to like show you, and you just got to go on YouTube. So thank you to Lucky Girl Talk for teaching me how to do that quickly and simply. But she also has like a great reel. So definitely go watch her or follow her on Instagram if you want motivational videos. And I love that she reposts me. I really appreciate that. And those videos get a lot of views. So thanks, girly. Someone asked what editing platforms I use. So for the podcast, I will record the audio with my microphone, which is a Samsung Q2U. And I will have my camera and my microphone linked down below in my Amazon shop. And the camera that I use is the Sony ZV-1. So when I'm recording the podcast, I will obviously have the camera recording, and I have a MacBook Pro. So I have GarageBand on there, and I will record my audio by plugging in my microphone into the GarageBand app, and I'm recording separately. And then what I do is I go into iMovie or Final Cut Pro. I'm going to go back to Final Cut Pro, but you can do the same thing in iMovie. I will upload the audio and the visual. I will sync the two files together. Well, I'll really just turn down the volume on my the video portion, and then I will keep the microphone on, and then I edit things out, save it. I save it audio version and I add it to Spreaker, like I already said, and then I will save the audio and the visual and I'll add it to YouTube. Again, if you want to learn how to use GarageBand and how to upload something to Spreaker, how to upload a YouTube video, go on YouTube, type it in. Somebody will show you step by step. It is very, very easy. I promise you. Don't think it's a huge thing, and don't let that be the reason why you do not create content. Also, if you don't have a camera, literally just use your iPhone. I use my iPhone all the time when I'm going out and vlogging. I just literally turn it landscape and I record whatever I need to record. Even sometimes if I'm talking, I'll just like use the thing. iPhones are really good for that. So yeah, don't be afraid to just use whatever you have. Someone asked, how long does it take to edit? Definitely depends. It definitely depends. If we're talking about a podcast, it will take me probably 2 hours total to get set up, think about what I'm talking about, record, maybe take a break because my freaking camera wants to heat up because I speak for so long. I would say maybe like an hour and a half. Like, it's not too long. I don't really take too many pauses. It depends on how long. And then maybe the editing process, another 2 hours. So maybe like 4 hours total for the podcast, depending, give or take, with also like getting the quotes and doing all of the captions and everything and uploading everything like to Spreaker, to doing the promo for the Instagram, everything like that. And then when it comes to YouTube, it depends. It could be the same, around 2 to 4 hours total. But usually YouTube takes a little bit longer because I like to add little clicks and little titles and things like that. But honestly, when I first started, I did not do like any editing on my YouTube channel because I didn't have a lot of time. I just was like, I can do one video a week and it can be a sit down video and it's going to be like bare edits. Like, there's not a lot of edits. I'm just going to talk about the topic that I can talk about at hand and give people advice, and that is it. And even when it came to my podcast, I used to just do audio because I didn't have time to record and then sync it and then add everything and like do all the cuts and everything. I could only do the audio. It just took less time, and that's all I could do until I had enough time to do that. So do what you can. Like, what I'm doing right now, I'm a full-time content creator. So the content that I'm producing is at a level in which I have time to do. But before, I did not have time to do that. All right, so let's talk about money, brands. I don't know. I don't really actually know the questions that are in here, but we'll see. Someone asked, did you reach out to brands first when you started, or them to you? Yeah, when I first started, I wasn't thinking about working with brands because I was focusing on giving people value, and like, I knew I wanted to eventually like make money, but like, I knew that I also had to create an audience first in order to even be able to sell myself to a brand in a way. So like, I didn't start reaching out and just be like, oh my God, I have followers, like, let's reach out. But eventually, yes, like, so let's just talk about after you've kind of like had an audience. At first I did, because I thought that's what you need to do, but I actually use a lot of like abundant mindset, manifestation, spiritual stuff when it comes to making money and brands and opportunities. So I want to definitely make a whole episode about that, because I learned really quickly that if I just focus on the value that I bring to my audience and create a very solid audience and community and people who love and like me and trust me and want to come to me and listen to me, and I give people free information and all the time and just give out, I will get that back and I won't really have to try very hard. And I will say all the brand deals that I ever got were not from a place of me reaching out and me forcing. And this is not to mean that you shouldn't go and put yourself out there and maybe reach out to brands. Of course, it's great. And even when it comes to talent management, maybe putting yourself out there, yes. But I think that people kind of get too caught up with, oh my God, I have to like pitch to a bunch of brands and this, that. Focus on becoming the most best social media influencer or content creator that you could be, and people will come to you. Like, this kind of comes back to just like, let's say even like being a celebrity. Like, do you think that celebrities are spending their days reaching out to brands? Like, no, right? Because they're so valuable, even if you don't think that they are, whatever. They're so valuable that people are dying wanting to work with them. And I even think about that in relationships too. It's like, I just need to be the most best, amazing, most beautiful, most fun, amazing person. And the guys are going to come to me. I don't have to go beg them. I don't have to ask them to come and date me. You know what I mean? And again, I get it. This is not to mean that you're not going to have to go market yourself and go talk to people, and like even when it comes to talking to brands, like maybe you really love a certain brand. There's definitely so many brands that I love who they might just not know who I am. I'm not the biggest creator. I'm not no celebrity. So yes, maybe I buy their stuff first and I really love them, or I tag them because I really like them. And then that's when we have that conversation in the DMs. Like, totally, this is not to look down on people who pitch. I have done that before too. I don't do that anymore. I also am with a talent management now, so I don't have to. But I just think that you always want to ask yourself, like, am I doing things too much kind of out of that scarcity and that chasing energy, that desperate energy, or am I really in that receiving? And I get it, right? You have to kind of go back and forth. But I think that instead of using your masculine energy to try and chase the things that you don't have, use that masculine energy to pour into your audience, in your community, in your work, and everything else will fall into place genuinely. Like, that's what I really do believe, and that's really what happened to me. This is not to say that you just sit around and you just like wait for everyone to like pay you. No. The reason why I had so many people come to me is because I channeled my energy, the desperate energy that I would have channeled to the brands, and I channeled that beautiful energy, really, that beautiful masculine energy, into things that actually made sense, which was my message, which was my skill, my talent, creating content. And I think that, listen, the bigger that you get, the bigger your audience becomes. Brands are coming to you. Brands come to me all the time. I don't need to go reach out to them unless I really love them and I've been using them and they just don't know me as a creator, because again, I'm not like this like celebrity. Like, there's definitely people that you can reach out to. So I just think, like, if you're a micro influencer and you're wanting to monetize your content, for sure, like, I get reaching out to brands, but make it a very small percentage of what you do, and the rest really like becoming the best content creator that you can be, and whatever that is going to look like. I will actually say one thing. Follow my really good friend Tess Barclay. She is somebody who literally teaches you how to be a content creator, like way better than I could ever, especially when it comes to marketing and branding and stuff. So I would say follow her on TikTok and Instagram and things like that. But I will say one thing about monetization. I knew TikTok wasn't paying me anything, obviously, because TikTok doesn't pay you. And I was only getting a few brand deals. They're pretty good brand deals, but I wasn't like gonna rely on that on TikTok. And so I knew, like, listen, I want to monetize my pieces of content because I believe I should be paid for what I'm doing. And so that is another reason why I definitely did start on YouTube as well, because I was like, okay, well, first of all, and they go hand in hand, because it wasn't just for money. Definitely not. I love long form content, and I know the things I talk about, they need to be on a long form platform like YouTube or podcast. And so I was like, okay, naturally it makes sense that I need to go here because this is the type of creator I am. And on top of that, I'm going to eventually get paid for my work. So I would just think, you know, when you're a content creator and you want to make this a business, you do have to think about different platforms that are going to pay you. Like, yes, you can be big on TikTok, but just know you're only really going to get brand deals and you're going to have to rely on that, which is fine. And people do that. But For me, I want to have the brand deals. I want to have the AdSense on YouTube. I want to have the AdSense on my podcast. I want to have my own products, my digital products. I want to have my one-on-one coaching because that's like what I want to do. You do not need to do that as a content creator. I don't even think that I'll do that forever, but there's like so many ways, even like affiliate links, which don't rely on affiliate links because that takes a long time to build up. But yeah, like you kind of want to like build out all different types of streams, and it takes a while. Just know that it takes a while. It could not, but yeah, I don't know. I just think that you want to just kind of be smart with that. Someone said, what exactly did you do to be able to leave your full-time job? Well, I got to a point where I was making AdSense and I was making consistent brand deals, and it was 1,000,000 times more money than I was making busting my ass as a server. And so I left. But in terms of like, even before that, this was the plan. I knew I didn't want to be in my corporate wellness job because I just knew that that wasn't the direction that I wanted to go. I didn't know if I wanted to go back to school or do something else. I just knew that like I didn't want to go any further in that field. So, and also they were not paying me enough. And so I had to have a second job being a bartender and a server. And so I realized because I don't want to be in this field, I might as well just leave this job and do serving and bartending full time until I know what I want to do. I kind of was like doing social media at that time, but it's not that I left my 9-to-5 thinking that like I was going to be a full-time content creator at that point. I just thought maybe I'd go back to school or something, but I didn't really care because I was in survival mode. I needed to make money, honey. I'm going where the money is, okay? Not like I sell myself out, but just in general. It's like, bitch, I got to make money. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'll just do full-time bartending. I was making way more money. And then I was also like, well, if I want to do something with content creation, I'm going to have more time and I'm making more money in less time because I'm doing serving. So I had like more nights off or like more mornings off, whatever, because I was making more money. So that allowed me to really put my time and energy more into content creation. But even then, I had to be smart with my time. And I have one video on my YouTube channel, which I will link down below. And it's about how to build your dream life while working a 9-to-5. I go through my whole entire story, so just go and watch that. But yeah, I did what I could. So bringing it back to, I didn't do a lot of edits. I only committed to doing one YouTube video a week until I could do more. I batch filmed a lot. I did not get on camera every single day because I couldn't, because I had to work. And then I got to a point where I was making AdSense and I was making brand deals consistently, and I backed myself, and I knew this is what I wanted to do, and I had goals for myself, and I had a vision for where I wanted to be, which is right now, by the way. And I said, I'm going to go. And listen, people will say, oh, but like, weren't you afraid? No, I actually was not afraid, because listen, I was actually more afraid of being at a job that wasn't paying me and I was busting my ass and working freaking minimum wage plus tips. Obviously, I was making pretty good money. Girl, I know how to make money. That is one thing about me. I'm gonna make money. But still, I was like, this is stupid. This is when you start to see, internet money, and listen, I do not make as much as some of these influencers do. But once you start to see internet money, the game changes. And I will say one thing too. I really did tap into the spiritual side of things, my feminine energy, abundance mindset, getting out of scarcity, healing. All of that played a huge role in my ability to be able to believe in myself and where I was going. It wasn't just this practical, like, okay, I'm making more money and now I can go and blah, blah, blah. There's a whole spiritual side of this, 100%. There's a healing process you have to go through, which really helped me. Like, even my journal guides, the abundance mindset and the heal to manifest, like those specifically definitely helped me. So yeah, I don't know. That's just like my process and what I did, but definitely go watch that video. Someone said, how can I be a content creator on a low budget? You don't need a lot of money to be a content creator. Like, all the apps are free. I'm sure you have a phone. Even this mic is like $100, so you can save up for that if you don't have it. You can record on your phone until you can buy a new camera. Like, you can save up money. You don't have to start. I would say, honestly, like, just make sure your content, it has like good lighting and you're speaking and conveying a message the best that you can. You have a plan. You're really just, honestly, stepping into the identity of being a YouTuber or being a podcaster or being an Instagrammer or whoever you're looking up to that you want to be. Step into that role in the identity. Like, the version of you that's not this person is not going to get you to where you want to be, right? So you have to like wake up every morning and be like, I'm a YouTuber. What would a YouTuber do? Even if you don't have the subscribers, you're not making money. I literally woke up and I looked at it as my full-time job. The way I looked at my social media as a full-time job when it was not giving me any source of income was great. Like, honestly, like, props to me. But I did that because I knew eventually, I believed if I did this, yes, I'm going to make it. And that's the thing. You have to have that belief in yourself. So, you don't need a lot of money to be full-time. And I get it because you see the aesthetics. Of course, you probably even see my life. People think that literally like I've always been living this life. Baby. No, it was not like this. I literally did not come from this. Somebody said, how do you handle taxes, paying for insurance? How do you pay yourself? I think I want to talk about this in a different episode about just finances in general. I feel like we should talk about this again, even outside of content creation. Just like I have videos on this too on my main channel. How do I handle taxes? When I get paid, I put away probably about 40% of my money, and I put a percentage of that away for emergency fund, and then a portion of that for income taxes, which I will have to pay back to the government. And I put that money in a high interest savings account. So I'm making interest off of it instead of putting it in a regular bank account. So I'm making money off of my money because that is smart, baby. Yeah. And that's what I do. And then I bookkeep. So every month I write out all the money that I made, anything that I need to expense when it came to my business being me. And at the end of the year, I pay my taxes. So that's really it. I just make sure everything's very organized every single month. And I also, in the vlog, you will see, I talk about it as well, what I do like for my brand deals, and I write down like how much money I'm going to be projecting every single month, and I calculate it, and I can kind of see how much I'm making, things like that. I'm just like, be on your shit. Just as long as you're an organized person, you will have no issue with like, it's not as scary as people think it is. I think it's just scary when you are not somebody who like looks at your finances and you're not organized. Also, in terms of the paying for insurance thing, I don't have insurance, and I also never really had insurance except for when I worked at my 9 to 5, and I made sure to go to the dentist and get everything done before I left. That is one thing about me. But yeah, I don't have insurance. But I also live in Canada, so like if I need to go to the doctors, like it's for free, but I just make enough money so that I can pay for my life. That's just it. Like, what am I going to do? This is another thing I want to talk about too. It's like we can save as much money as we possibly can, and we can like be good with our spending. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to learn how to make more money. And that's what I do. I just make more money. So yeah, we'll have to talk about that. Also, in terms of like, how do you pay yourself? I make sure that I'm putting money away for stocks, money away for emergency funds, money away for anything that I've spent. I make sure that I'm decent with my spending. I've worked myself out of debt before. I used to have really, really bad spending habits and financial situations. And honestly, a lot of that had to do with the fact that I just didn't come from money, and I got financially screwed a lot of ways in my life, even outside of me, which I did talk about that in my How to Enter Your Rich Era or something. I don't know, on YouTube. I'll have it linked down below. So you can definitely go watch that video if you want. Someone said, do views always matter, or do you earn the most through brand deals? And I feel like, okay, so like the views do matter, because if you don't have views, then the brand deals that you're going to be getting, you won't really be getting, right? If you don't have views. There's so many other things that come into play though, when it comes to brand deals. But so this is what I'll say in terms of views. Views definitely matter, but I wouldn't hyper focus on it, right? Like you want to just focus on being the best version of yourself, and you're backing yourself, and you're putting out great content, right? Just put out great content. People will come to you. And I know it sounds easier said than done, but genuinely on an energetic level, you got to back yourself. And you have to kind of like be in the know of things, but not every video that I have pops off. So in terms of like, does that always matter? No, like when you're a full-time content creator, not every piece of content is going to slap, and that's fine. The more you're consistent, and the more that you are really honing in on your craft and your skill, and you're getting better at what you do in terms of filming and speaking and showing your life and moving with the ebbs and flows of life in your community, and you're listening and you're engaging, you're going to be fine. And when it comes to, do you earn the most through brand deals? Yes, I do. Now, not every single brand deal is more money than my AdSense or more money than what I make for coaching or my digital products or affiliate links. But for the most part, yes, brand deals are definitely the way that most influencers make a lot of money. Now, you don't need them though. There are so many influencers on, let's say, podcasting or YouTube that make a lot in AdSense, and they don't do a lot of brand deals because either they don't want to or they don't need to, or their niche, it just doesn't really make sense, and they just rely off of the AdSense. And people always ask, well, how much do you make? Whatever. It depends. It depends on your frequency. It depends on the type of content that you're posting. It depends on the views on that video. I could have 2 videos that perform the exact same way, but because I talked about finance or tech in one of them and makeup in the other, my finance and tech video is going to make more money because the ads that are running on there, they have more money behind that marketing campaign for ads. That's just, you have to, and this is the thing, right? Educate yourself. Go on YouTube, learn about marketing, learn about branding. If you really want to make this a business, listen to people on podcasts who are talking about building a business and becoming your own brand, all that kind of stuff. The Skinny Confidential is really good for that. And this is not for me to be like, don't ask me, like, go and do your own research. Like, I get it. You're asking me because you want to know. But that's how I learned, right? You really got to immerse yourself in this thing. If you want content creation and online world to be your full-time job, this requires you to be interested. It requires work. It requires research. And I'm not saying you guys are wanting to just do this and not do any of the work, but there are definitely people who just want the life but don't want the work, don't want to put in the work. And I put in the work. Like every day I would listen to podcasts and learn about business and learn about, even when it comes to finances, when I wanted to learn how to get myself out of crappy financial situations, I had to learn about it. I had to buy books. I had to learn about compound interest and stocks, and I had to go ask people and invest in myself, like, and do courses and read books, all that kind of stuff. But again, bringing it back to this point of, you don't need to know everything all at once for you to start and become a content creator. You're going to find and learn so many things on the way. Same thing with me. Every year, well, it's only been like 2 years, I guess, but I always learn more things. And the more times also that I meet creators, content creators out in the world, and I go to events and stuff, I'm hearing more behind the scenes of, like, you know, what people are doing now with brands or different campaigns people are running, or how people are making money, or how much money people are making is insane. And these are things that I did not know when I first started, and that's totally fine. You learn these things as you go. And the last question, someone said, I imagine you work 24/7. Is that true? It's not true. I work a lot. I would say a few things. One, I am somebody who usually excels at what they do when it comes to work and whatever it is that I have to do. This is like stemming from childhood, and just always kind of being like this. Even with any job, I always do really well at the job. I apply myself, and this is why I'm good at it, is because I apply myself and I listen and I ask questions and I try and I practice until I do it. I have these beliefs and thought processes in my head of more like uplifting, optimistic types of thoughts that allow me to continue to go. When you have negative thoughts about yourself and negative thoughts about your ability to do things, you're gonna like not do them. This doesn't mean that I have the best mindset about everything. And when there's something new that I have to do, I have to kind of like really muster up that confidence within myself and tell myself that I can do it. But at the end of the day, you have to be the one that is speaking those words of encouragement and confidence within yourself, or you're not going to really do it. And listen, I can sit here all day and tell you, oh my God, you can do it. You can be a content creator and this, that, and you're going to get motivation and inspiration to do it. But at the end of the day, it's going to have to be up to you to consistently tell yourself this every single day. Have a journal practice every day. Who do you want to be? What are the things that you need to tell yourself in order to get there? And what actions are you going to take to do it, and do it consistently? And listen to people who are speaking words of encouragement into you as well. Stop listening to people who are telling you that you can't do it, or things are too hard, or complaining or whining. Go and listen to people who have done what you want to do. learn from them, listen to them, take their tips, implement them, try and fail and try again, and just do it. Because what else are you going to do? What else are you going to do? Sit around and not do what you want to do in your life? That makes no sense. Listen, at the end of the day, you're going to have to do it anyway, so you might as well do it. That is what I got to say. But when it comes to working 24 hours, I don't know why I went on that rant or how I got there, but I listen to my body and my energy, and I have a really good plan and organization. I talked about this in that vlog as well. And the days that I don't feel like I can film, I won't. I have that luxury now. I didn't have it at first, so I learned how to work smart, not hard, with some of the things that I said that I did when it came to serving. But I did those things so that eventually I got to a point where now I have time freedom to be able to wake up and say, is my body feeling like it needs to rest today? And if so, then maybe I'll let myself rest. But it doesn't mean that I'm always letting myself rest. Like, that's what I thought that I was going to be able to do. Like, oh yeah, like when I'm a content creator, I could just like do whatever I want. Well, first, I don't even want to not work. I actually really love what I do because I'm aligned. I'm very, very aligned with what I want to do. But on top of that, I don't know what I was going to say. I was going to say on top of that, something, and I don't remember what I was going to say because my brain is like all over the place. So sorry about that. That must be so annoying when somebody's like going on a rant and they fully freaking stop, which I kind of do that sometimes. But yeah, I just ebb and flow through the seasons of life. Sometimes this is also one more thing, I guess I could say is, I cycle sync, right? So I am very in tune with my energy states based off of my hormonal cycle. So there are totally weeks where I just have zero energy right before I get my period. And so I make sure to plan a lot of content before that. And I do that because I know I actually have more energy. Like I actually do have more energy when I'm ovulating before I get into the luteal, the second week of like the second half of the luteal phase. And so I capitalize on my energy. I push myself a little bit more because I know that I can, even if I don't have to. Let's say I'm ovulating and I have a lot of energy and I'm really inspired. And I have my whole week laid out and I have a video that I need to record on Monday and then maybe on Wednesday and then maybe like a Thursday video. If I have a lot of energy, I remind myself, baby girl, there's going to be a week out of this month where you're going to have zero energy and you're going to wish that you recorded one more video. And because you have the energy and because you want to speak from this place of your soul and your energy state and whatever, just do it now and then I'll just do it. And then I'll get more work out. And then on the days that I don't have as much energy, good, amazing. I don't have to record anything because everything is done. But even if I do have energy, I will still do it anyways. And then of course, I'm not perfect. There are some times where I leave things a little bit too long and I still don't have energy to do it. And I'm like, damn, like I probably should have just capitalized on when I did have energy. That's fine. Not a big deal. And I say it's not a big deal because I've created a life where at the end of the day, I just have to get up and record a podcast. Like, I used to do harder things in my life, but I worked towards that and it wasn't always like that. And this is something I said in the vlog as well. The days that I don't feel well, they're so much more easier than they used to be because I did the work when I was younger and and this is even outside of building my content and whatever, but the self-development and the days where my life was a mess, I woke up every day and I still did my gratitude list and I still tried to change my mindset about the things that were happening in my life. I still got up and I paid my bills and I paid off my debt and I did the things and I stayed in on the weekends and I worked on my, not my business at that point, but I literally just like picked up more shifts and bartended and I did all these things that I didn't want to do because I knew eventually there was going to be a point in my time where I was going to be where that was going to like be all worth it. And it was, and that's where I'm at right now. So I guess maybe this is just a reminder for you. If you're in a period of life right now where you just so badly want to get on the other side, you just want to be the content creator, or you just want to have the time freedom, or you just want to have more money and this, that, you want to get out of your situation, understand that the things that you do in this moment in time are going to be so important for you to get to where you're at. So what do you need to do? Let's not worry and stress about the things that you don't have yet. And I get it. It is really hard too, especially if you are in survival mode and you need money and you need to like pay your bills and you just like hate the situation situation that you're in. I get it. I've been there. But let's do our best to always bring our attention back to who do we need to be right now in order to get that life. Let's not think about that life out there. We all know what it is. We have it on our vision board. We know how much money we want. We know how much money we do not have. Who do you have to be every single day? Well, the YouTuber that you want to be is not going to be waking up every single morning and crying about views and not recording things. Okay? The YouTuber that you want to be is waking up and going on YouTube and typing in, how do I edit a video? How do I start a podcast? How do I upload this on here? How do I speak better on camera? What are the top 3 things that people are stressing about right now on, social media, and how can I help them? Think about those things. Become that version. And the more you focus on becoming that person, watch how your life change. And I'll tell you this, I did not think that I was going to be able to leave my job as soon as I did when I actually left serving. It just all happened so quickly because I believed in myself, because I stopped focusing on all the things that I didn't have and started focusing on the things that I did. And because I focused on becoming that YouTuber and I just became consistent and practiced and stopped letting everyone else and their opinions or negativity get in my way. And eventually it happened. Energetically, it happened for me, and it can happen for you too. And if anyone else is telling you that you cannot do it, and that being yourself, don't listen. Okay? So if you are telling yourself every single day, I can't do it, I don't know how, enough. That's the old version of you, and we don't need her. Love you, but we do not need her. Okay? So that's going to be it. I talked for so freaking long. I hope you guys got something out of this episode. Again, I will have all the videos that I think that will be helpful down below. Let me know on Spotify how you like this episode. If you want me to expand on anything else, don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, to subscribe to the podcast channel. And on audio, you can just hit follow on Apple or Spotify or wherever you're watching. And yeah, I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.